Well, joining me now is Michigan Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. She serves on the Energy and Commerce and Natural Resources Committees. Welcome, Congresswoman. It's good to see you again. So let's first talk about the shutdown. The Trump administration has said it is not going to use emergency funds for the SNAP benefits during the government shutdown. Yet we have at least 25 states which will cut off crucial food assistance for about 42 million people on Saturday. 13% of your state, Michigan, households, that's 1.4 million people, receive nutrition assistance. So what are your concerns for your constituents who depend on SNAP to feed themselves and their families? And what are you hearing from them?
Look, first of all, the president does have the ability to tap into emergency funds, and I think you're going to see some challenges to his decision not to help pay for some of those funds. Look, let's be clear. We did the largest cut in food assistance in history of this country when we passed the big, you can use whatever adjective you want. I don't use the president. People are already hungry. Food is more expensive than it's been. The president said he was going to cut prices. He hasn't. You know, I'm in Kroger every Sunday morning, and people come up to me now to show me what the cost of their food is. So I'm very worried about what's going to happen November 1st. I've already met with our food banks, talked to our food banks in Michigan. People are trying to come together to help people, but it's not going to be enough to make up for what these funds cover. Yeah, we have a problem, and we should be working together in a bipartisan way to get it solved.
So to that end, you've missed paychecks, mass firings. That's not yet convinced Democrats to end the shutdown. The nutrition aid cliff, it has largely flown under the radar as Democrats are holding firm in their demand to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies. SNAP is a program that Democrats have long championed. So how much will cutting off benefits increase pressure on Democrats to try to end the shutdown?
So, Alex, I'm going to challenge the question you just gave me. Why are Democrats continuing to keep the government closed? Explain to me how we're supposed to even talk to Republicans when this is the fifth week that Mike Johnson has kept the House of Representatives out. I have been in Washington except for 1 week when my mother was in the hospital with Hakeem Jeffries. We've had the bulk of the House return several times, ready, able, wanting to work, to sit at a table. And the fact I was out at on a weekend, I was many places, and people are actually getting their health care premiums right now. They're coming up to me and saying, you were right, but it's more than you said it would be. And it's not just the Affordable Care Act premiums where we need the tax credits, but Blue Cross Blue Shield premiums because of what has happened in the previous bill of, everybody thinks, oh, it's just impacting Medicaid. We have a lot of problems. Their health care premiums are going up. So we're fighting for affordability. We're fighting for people to be able to afford their health care and get health care. But it means we all got to be in Washington working, and it would be good if the president wasn't overseas and if Republicans were back in Washington so we could try to work these issues.
Well, a couple things. First of all, I hope your mom is okay, because that's rough. But that having been said, let's look at it this way. As Speaker Mike Johnson, to your point, has put the House on indefinite hiatus while the government is closed. But he's saying Republicans don't need to negotiate, and it's on Democrats to end the stalemate. Now, Republicans, let's note, they represent states that disproportionately rely on SNAP benefits and ACA subsidies. So what's your sense of the pressure Republican colleagues are facing from constituents to end the shutdown?
Look, I've been talking to, I'm someone who talks to my Republican colleagues. Democrats are united. Republicans in their caucuses are explaining, hey, we got to do something.
Him saying that they could. So he ultimately is the only person who can bring people back to the negotiating table. But he refuses to do that. I think he spent a lot of time playing golf during this shutdown. And it seems like House Republicans are following his lead by not being in Washington right now.
So if Democrats are unsuccessful and Obamacare subsidies disappear at the end of this year, some estimates say as many as a third of the 4.7 million Floridians on Affordable Care Act plans may choose to just drop them entirely next year because of the higher costs. So, Carlos, Florida has become decidedly red, voting for Trump and changing its former status as a purple state. Could this pressure Republican lawmakers to negotiate with Democrats over ACA subsidies? I mean, this has got to scare them.
Alex, healthcare is the issue that was most significant for Republicans in 2018, in the middle of the first Trump term, when Republicans lost the House. It was healthcare that really propelled Democrats to win 41 seats and flip the House. So Republicans know this is a dangerous issue. They already worked on Medicaid in a way that could cause them some political peril. The ACA has hurt them in the past. So I do think that at some point here, if these premium announcements hit homes, if people start getting worried, this is a potential pressure point. And we really need pressure points, Alex, because right now, neither side seems to feel very much political pressure, which is why we're in this stalemate. But Republicans, especially those, there aren't that many left, but those who were in Congress back in 2018 and remember that big loss and why it happened, might be motivated to push their leadership to get to the table and find a solution that works for everyone.
And the Trump administration says it is not going to tap into leftover emergency funds to pay for food aid. And Politico reports 42 million Americans are going to lose access to SNAP benefits. It'll happen Saturday if Congress doesn't act, Shaniqua. So how is the administration finding funds to keep programs central to Trump's political agenda afloat, but somehow can't manage to find the money to feed hungry people?
Because they don't want to. I mean, Donald Trump has said on multiple occasions he's going to go after Democratic programs that benefit people who vote for Democrats. The problem is you can't pick and choose who participates in a federal program based on their political affiliation. There are actually a tremendous number of Donald Trump supporters and voters who stand to see their health care premiums increase if these subsidies are not expanded, who stand to not see access to SNAP benefits if they don't find the money for it. And I think Republicans are really going to pay for this in the midterms. There are a lot of low-income people in this country, and especially right now when the economy is not doing well, people need help. And that is more and more people every day that this shutdown continues on and healthcare subsidies aren't continued. And we'll see even more people who are starting to visit food banks and food pantries just trying to eat. There's no way you can withstand that kind of political blowback from people not being able to eat.
Trump doubled down on his feud with Canada, announcing yesterday he's going to punish our northern neighbor with an additional 10% tariff on its goods because of a TV ad that features Ronald Reagan criticizing tariffs. Carlos, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent called.
You're not afraid to go into red states.
No.
When I saw you slinging shots behind the coffee bar, I thought this guy might run for president.
I have no idea. The idea that a guy who got 960 on his SAT that still struggles to read scripts that was always in the back of the classroom. The idea that you even throw that out is in and of itself extraordinary. Who the hell knows? I'm looking forward to who presents themselves in 2028 and who meets that moment. And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying. And I can't do that.
Governor, you have long said that if you ever run for the White House, you need a compelling why, a reason. Are you moving closer to figuring out your own why and your own decision?
Yeah, Nietzsche said if you have a compelling why, you can endure any how. And so I think the biggest challenge for anyone who runs for any office is people see right through you if you don't have that why. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. And so, look, well, that fate will determine that.
You certainly seem to like being on the ground in South Carolina, I have to say that. Seeing you up close, you were having a good time.
I happen to, and thank God, I'm in the right business. I love people. I actually love people.
One thing you need to realize is that you often lose elections months before they happen. Something happens, a choice is made, an event happens, some mistake is made by a candidate or whatever, and that's what actually decides the election way before the voting, and in some cases the candidates are fully decided. We already saw this before. Trump blew the 2022 midterms and Republicans blew them because of the decision by the Supreme Court taking away a woman's right to choose as a federal right. And instantly the backlash happened, and it only got worse as more and more Republican states started curtailing the fundamental human rights of women. All the horror stories happened. And so the Republicans, who were expected to get a massive victory in the House, got a tiny sliver of a majority. And that majority was so small, it led to the downfall of Kevin McCarthy, remember? And then the Senate, the Democrats kept the Senate and actually grew their lead in the Senate, something no one was predicting before Dobbs, right? And the reason it happened was because of Dobbs. Nothing happened on election night, November 2022, that decided that. And likewise, right now, Trump's cuts, his failed shutdown, is hurting so many people. And as noted there, a quarter of Floridians, a quarter of them, might see a decline in their health care. Either they lose it, or their premiums go up, or they have to basically cancel their health care because they can't afford their premiums, and it puts them in an awful position. A quarter of Floridians. And while Florida, I think, is becoming an increasingly red state, and I don't know if this is going to be enough to, say, flip a Senate seat or a governor's race, what it will do is put a whole lot of House seats in play. There are a whole lot of House seats that could become in play here. And when you look to the future and you say, when did Trump lose the 2026 midterms? I think it's the moment he went after people's health care, because that's one of the things that hurt him in 2018. And this attack on healthcare is just as bad as that one back then.